Before digging into specifics in program design, I want to give you guys some context relative to today's avatar. And that context is going to come through what all of our clients that are inside of the OPEX methodology go through. And that is a two-part initial assessment. So in that initial assessment, part one is the initial consultation. So just kind of wrap your brain around you're getting to know your client, their goals, why they're here, so on and so forth. And part two being the physical assessment, and that is OPEX body, OPEX move, and OPEX work. So going back to the initial consultation, some goals that we extrapolated from our client, our avatar client today, is that they want to improve body composition, they want to enjoy training again, they want to keep doing the things that they did in their early 20s and mid 20s and strength speed work and power cleans and power snatches and all of that stuff. And they just really want to enjoy training again. And I think this is a story that a lot of us can relate to when we have conversations with clients. Usually when they're in that hiring a coach process, they might find themselves in a little bit of a rut physically, right? They're just like, I can't get excited to go to the gym anymore. I don't have any motivation and I need someone to hold me accountable. So our avatar today falls right in line, right? So those are some of the things that we're looking at in terms of goals and why this client is here. Now, when we dig into the physical assessment and OPEX body, just think about that as us getting body composition data from our client, and we want to understand where they are. Today's avatar is in pretty good shape, right? He's at a fairly low body fat. His weight is a little higher than what he wants, but he's within normal ranges. So nothing jumps out as overly concerning. But remember what he talked about in his goals, he wants to improve body composition. So the numbers that you see on the screen right now are the things that we're going to try to improve, right? We're going to reassess these numbers over time because we have to hold ourselves accountable as coaches to ensure that we're actually decreasing these numbers over time. Now moving on to OPEX move. So OPEX move is just us taking our clients through a movement screen. And this movement screen is relative to our 6 basic movement patterns. So you'll see that our client failed the lunge assessment due to lack of motor control and coordination. He also failed the core assessment through the side plank, and that was just relative to a lack of core endurance. So when we get into the 3Ps section, we'll connect back to that and we can start to wrap our heads around how we're going to prioritize these things inside of the program. And then finally, OPEX work. So for OPEX work, we're putting our clients on an assault bike and we're saying accumulate as many calories as you can in a 10-minute time frame. And he came in at 165 calories, so that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good for his background, that's pretty good for his age, weight, so on and so forth. So he's able to produce work. Now let's talk about the 3 Ps for today's avatar. So the 3 Ps stand for priorities, planning, and periodization. So first, starting with priorities. So we have 3 very clear priorities for this client today. Priority number 1 is to increase core muscle endurance. And where did that priority come from? That priority came from OPEX move when we talked about the failing of the side plank. So because he wasn't able to hold that side plank for the requisite amount of time and he failed that assessment, that's just going to be inside of the training program. We're going to prioritize improving that so he can pass that test. The next priority is going to be increasing muscle endurance and motor control in the lunge pattern. So we also realized in OPEX move that he was unable to control a lunge in an eccentric. So because he was unable to do that and he was wobbly, that's going to be a priority in the exercise program to clean that up, to gain motor control in that movement pattern. And the third priority is going to be to increase engagement in the training program. So remember, that was one of his goals, right? So because that was one of his goals, it's going to be a massive priority as we roll forward inside of the training program. So just like I'm talking to you guys about what the priorities are, I'm going to have a conversation with him as well because we want to increase connection and we want to make this whole thing more goal oriented so he has a little bit more motivation on a day-to-day basis and he's more connected to what he's doing in the gym on a day-to-day basis as well. Next, getting into planning and periodization. So he is going to work out in the gym intentionally 5 days per week. Resistance training is going to be upper, lower, focused. So on each day, he's going to either be focusing on the lower body or the upper body. And that's because he's an intermediate, almost advanced trainee. So if he was a beginner, we would probably go full body and we would hit every movement pattern every day. But because he falls into that intermediate to advanced spot, we're not going to do full body resistance with him. We're going to split that body, upper and lower. And relative to how we're going to progress, we're going to start with a lot of volume and we're going to decrease volume over time and we're going to increase intensity. So what does that mean on paper? That just means that reps are going to go down and loads are going to go up. Very, very simple. So we're going to approach this with a very linear format. In energy systems training, specifically aerobic training, he is going to stick in that moderate range. So think 7, 10, 12 minutes-ish. And we're going to start a little bit slower and we're going to get faster relative to where we started from. So when you hear me say slow to fast, just think, he's going to be, just moving a little bit slower in aerobic work. And then maybe week 8, he's going to be moving faster in aerobic work because the time is going to decrease. So we have to remember that the time in which we're working dictates how fast we're moving because we have to be able to sustain it for that amount of time. So now let's talk about the training split Monday through Sunday and what he's doing each one of these days. So Monday is going to be a lower/core focused day. So he's going to open this up and we're going to focus on some snatch skill work because remember, he wanted to keep some of that stuff inside of the training program. So we're just going to keep that, at the top of the program and we're just going to do some skill stuff there. So he's going to start with dynamic snatch. Next, he's going to do lunge motor control focused. Monday is a priority day. This is the first day of the week. He's rested, he's recovered. So we want to hit our biggest priority. So our very first priority is improving motor control in that lunge pattern. So he's going to go lunge and then he's going to go core. He's going to do some bending exercise, core, and then he's going to do a mixed modal aerobic chipper. So because this is a lower day, I'm even going to keep my mixed modal work lower focused. So this is just going to be sustainable work that I'm biasing the lower body / core just to stay true to my focuses and priorities of today. On Tuesday, simply going to do cyclical aerobic work. On Wednesday, he's going to take a day off. He's out of the gym. Just go out, do some outdoor movement, get in some MAP 10 or what we call long, easy aerobic work like walking, hiking, biking, easy swims, so on and so forth. Now we're back into the gym on Thursday and we're going to do upper body focus with mixed aerobic work. So he's going to start off with a push in the horizontal plane, a pull in the vertical plane, push in the vertical plane, and pull in the horizontal plane. And then he's going to end this day with a mixed modal aerobic circuit. So this is going to look a little bit different than the chipper where we're doing work. The circuit, we have work laid out and we're going to do it in a circuit fashion. And remember, I'm staying true to what my priorities are on each day, even in mixed modal aerobic work. So I'm going to keep this upper body focused. And then on Friday, we're going to hit cyclical aerobic work again. And then finally on Saturday, we're going to go lower and core focused one more time. So we're going to go dynamics, we're going to go clean and jerk, we'll go lunge motor control. So that's going to be 2 specific days that we're focusing on the lunge motor control at the top of the training program. So it's obvious that's a very big priority. Then we're going into priority number 2, which is the core. And then we have squat and then more core, bend and more core. Sunday, we're resting and recovering and we're doing that all over again on Monday. Okay, now what we've all been waiting for, the actual training program. So now that you guys have really good context in terms of what goals are for this client, what assessment data is for this client, let's dig into a specific training day. And we're going to make this training day Monday, which is a priority day as we laid out in the training split. So remember, Monday was a lower plus core focused day, and we're also doing some mixed modal work at the end of this day. So we have the tall snatch plus overhead squat complex, and we're doing this against an 8-minute clock. So first, let's talk about why I chose the tall snatch plus overhead squat for my exercise versus any other complex or just a snatch from the floor. So just as we know, what I talked about before with this being an accumulation phase and us wanting to just hit on strength, speed, skills to have them in the program throughout the week, we're putting this at the top of the program relative to concurrent training principles and us having to do strength, speed work before we do absolute strength work. And let's look at why I chose these exercises in this complex. So I chose this complex because I wanted to limit how heavy my client could get kicking off the day, right? So if I gave him a snatch from the floor and I said just build to a 1 rep max or a tough single, he would probably wipe himself out pretty good before getting to B, and B, he would probably be attempting snatch singles all day until he got to 20, 30, 45 minutes of the training program. And we don't want that to happen. So I chose the tall snatch because there's no dip and drive. He's not able to generate as much force as if he was pulling it off the ground. So I know that I'm limiting intensity, and I threw an overhead squat on top of it because we're just working on skill acquisition or shoring up skills in that overhead position. So we're going to perform this against an 8-minute clock. And the reason why I'm doing this against an 8-minute clock is to limit the amount of times and attempts that he's actually able to take. So he should actually feel really good moving into B1. B1, we're doing the R&T split squat. So the R&T split squat is a good exercise selection choice for this client because remember what we saw in the assessment. He was unable to control himself in the eccentric portion of the lunge assessment / test. So I'm simply telling him to get in that R&T position. So just kind of imagine a band being on the inside of the leg and it's trying to pull him out, and he's just fighting against that as he's going through that split squat at the tempo that's prescribed. So you'll notice that he's about 40 seconds of time under tension per leg. He's going against that band variable, so he's ingraining in his brain how to stay nice and steady through that eccentric. And then I just gave him a little note like, hey, if these feel really easy and you're feeling primed and really good in the program, just add some dumbbells to that suitcase position to add additional load. And then we're hitting the extended side plank, and we're doing that for as many seconds as possible, minus 5 seconds. So just kind of think about, and the way that I would explain this to him in the comments or the notes is I would just say, hey, I want you to get in that extended side plank position, and when you feel like you can go another 2, 3, 5 seconds relative to what the prescription is, I want you to just come down. So every set should be really tough, but you shouldn't go to failure at any point. And this extended side plank is there because he failed the side plank. So I'm just going to feed the problem. We're going to do a lot of side planks in the training program. C1, we're going to go single leg kettlebell RDL. So why did I choose this exercise? Because based on the split and what I want to do, I want to perform the bend pattern, and I'm just going to break his body in half today, right? So because I'm going single leg work with the split squat, I'm going to stick with that pattern or stick with that plan for today. And I'm also going to go single leg with the bend pattern. And there's some really cool motor control adaptations that actually bleed from the bend pattern into the split squat or squat pattern or lunge pattern that we can actually get some really good benefits from. So I chose single leg in my bending exercise selection or pattern choice for the day. And then I have L-sit heel taps. And again, we're just working on the core. So whereas we worked on the oblique section in the prior exercise relative to the core, now we're going to go more anterior core, and we're just going to do some L-sit heel taps. Now we get into the mixed modal piece for today. So remember, in this mixed modal piece, we wanted to go chipper format. So not only did we want to go chipper format, but we also wanted to focus on the lower body specifically because we want to stay true to the goals of today. So I laid out a 1,000-meter bike erg, 30 goblet squats at 53 pounds, 30 kipping knees to elbow, and 100 heavy double unders. So you can kind of see, because this is a four task piece where I'm just saying I want you to do this, you can kind of see what body parts I'm biasing as we walk through. that bike erg, he's going to feel it in the quads, right? So because this was a lower focus day, I don't want to throw him on the ski erg for 1,000 meters and allow him to burn out his prime pullers. I'm still focusing on that lower body. So we're going to go 1,000 meters on the bike erg. He's going to come off of that bike erg and he's going to go into goblet squats, and he's going to see that he has to do 30 at 53 pounds. Before he accomplished the 1,000 meters on the bike erg, that probably would have been a fairly easy task for him. But coming off of that bike erg fairly fatigued in the quads and going into the goblet squat, what are we doing? We're just now biasing some strength endurance pieces inside of this mixed modal piece, and we're staying true to the lower body that we laid out in the pattern selection. And then he's going to core, which is also a priority for today, and he's doing 30 kipping knees to elbow. And then he's going to end this piece with a nice, let's call it a cyclical piece with the 100 heavy double unders. And there'll still be some challenge there for him. And the challenge will be in breathing, most likely, right? Like there will be some upper body stuff because of the rope being a little bit heavier, but he's just going to be forced to breathe and get through those double unders. So why did I want to put that at the tail end of this thing rather than, right after the bike erg? So I did this because I want him to think about those heavy double unders when he's doing the 1,000 meter bike erg, when he's doing the goblet squats, when he's doing the kipping knees to elbow. I want him to think about that fairly tough task at the end of this, because I want to ensure that it's in his brain to make all of that work sustainable. Because if we just ended with the 30 kipping knees to elbow, maybe he would have just said, okay, I'm just going to fly through this thing and just kind of, make it work on the kipping knees to elbow. But when you get a skill piece like a heavy double under, you might think twice before you just kind of move really quickly through the pieces that came before it.